Alright, now that I've had some time to reflect in the dark, what if, big what if, after 5, 6 days or so, whenever we play, I don't even know what today is, but after a couple days, a couple hours, a couple podcasts, and footage, and all 22 viewing of Lamar specifically, what if, after all is said and done, let me preface this by saying I love my quarterback and I love my team. They just make me upset. But what if, and I love my quarterback, but what if it's Lamar? A couple years ago, 23 and 24 specifically, under Todd Monken, we've seen Lamar has put up MVP numbers, MVP caliber performances, like since he's been in the league, right? But in 23 or 24, whichever one it was, they came out and said, they as in Todd Monken and Harbaugh said, that they're trying to give him more of the reins, more of the control of calling audibles and switching things up and switching protections and all that stuff at the line. Those penalties we got for delay a game this past week, back to back on the same drive. That's a mix between the play call getting in. That's mainly coaching. Play calls wasn't coming in and all this other stuff. Okay, cool. But leading up to that, and then I say leading up to it, 23 and 24 and now 25, what if it's Lamar? What if y'all have given him, y'all as in the coaching staff, have given him so much leeway when it comes to changing schemes and protection based off of what he sees at the line? What if y'all have given him too much power, too much control? Monken might be calling a package, Harbaugh might be calling a package, but he's calling something outside of that. We can get on Todd Monken all day and all night, right? But what if it's Lamar checking out of these plays? That's why some of your wide receivers on some routes, they looking because they don't know what the fuck is going on. Because they lead a huddle with one thing in mind and Lamar is changing at the line. What if it's Lamar that's changing things? Harbaugh came out the other day and said, we have a plan. We had a plan, we just didn't execute. A lot of people took that, and I didn't see that, but a lot of people took that as he was throwing shots at Todd Monken, Harbaugh. Harbaugh may have been throwing shots at Todd Monken, and that may be a conversation they've already had. But what if their plan was altered based on something Lamar saw? What if it's Lamar? I love 8. We wouldn't have the notoriety and success over the last 7 years, 8 years without him. This is true. But what if it's Lamar? What if Lamar's going up there and seeing they showing X, they showing Y, they showing Z? Let me make sure I'm protected. Let me make sure, based on what I'm seeing at the line, we have a chance to succeed. Taking his running ability out of it, being just a pure passing quarterback, what if it's Lamar? Under Greg Roman, he was the most injured. But he was also running every play, it seemed like, and running for his life. Now he's running for his life because the protections aren't where they supposed to be. What if the protection, besides the fact of our guards being trash, what if it's Lamar? Why is Voorhees and Fa'alele looking one way and the plays happening another way? What if it's Lamar confusing our line? There has been absolutely no communication amongst the offensive line pre-snap. But I believe that's because they're being told one thing in the huddle based on what the play calling is. You got Lamar looking at his wristband based on the play calling. And what if he's changing it? What if he's the one changing it in the situation instead of sticking to the plan? Based on what he sees, based on this, based on that. Okay, cool. But what if he's the one changing it? They run a package, a certain package with Henry in, they run a certain package with Justice Hill in. But what if based on those packages, he's changing the plays? So it always looks like it's a check down screen to Justice Hill to the left or the right. What if it's a check down to Derrick Henry to the left or the right? And he's calling an audible, calling different protections, doing X, Y, and Z. We've been snapping the ball so close to the play clock hitting 00 every single snap, almost. Even with the hurry up snaps when we try to surprise Detroit, those play calls, I think, were the coach. I think he did it twice in the goal line. That drive. Those, I think, were definitely the coach. Here's the play. We're just going to run it no matter what. Not successful. I feel like Lamar is frustrated. Lamar is frustrated and put on the hot seat to perform and produce because when he was drafted, he told Deion Sanders and the world that they're going to get a Super Bowl out of him. And all he want to do is win. So when you break the huddle with a plan, you see how the defense is lined up, all he's thinking about is trying to find a way to win. Whether it be that down, that drive, that game. I think it's Lamar. What if it's Lamar? Lamar being the MVP, 2-time, almost 3-time MVP that he is. I think, what if it's Lamar? When he wasn't given so much leeway and so much slack, enough rope to enough leash to do what he wanted to do, we were successful offensively. And we had 10 weeks last season where the defense couldn't keep up with what the offense was doing. But now that Lamar has more power, more call, more say-so, more trust from the coaching staff, what if it's Lamar? It's very rare that Lamar is somewhere looking at a tablet. But I've seen it twice this season so far, after a drive, that he's looking at a tablet. I think with him and his growth, he's finally in a position where he has the reins and he's holding on a little too tight to the reins. What if it's Lamar? Just want to put that out there. What if it's 8? Again, Lamar, if you ever see this, I love you, bruh. You my quarterback. But what if it's Lamar? What if that's what's creating a dissension or miscommunication? I know you're running for your life, Lamar. Our guards are trash. Our tackles are weak. Give or take, Ronnie Stanley. But I'm just putting it out there to the universe. What if it's Lamar? Todd Monk and John Harbaugh, they calling for these people jobs. Zach Orr, they calling for these people jobs. But what if it's Lamar? To that same token, what if it's Rowe? What if it's Roquan? That's the problem. A couple times, and I forget which game it was this season. A couple times we still had our defense looking at each other, looking at the green dot, trying to figure out the play. What's the coverage? What we doing? What if it's Rowe? And what if it's Lamar? They're trying to do too much. They're trying to do too little. What if it's Lamar? What if it's Roquan? We're going to see this week with no Roquan and no Lamar. We're going to see. Just putting it out there. Let's see what happens against the Texans. I'll revisit this thought process, this theory.